That may be all of our Baldur's Gate coverage, but we're not out of the Enchanted Dungeons and Dragons woods yet, because any moment now, the D&D Live Showcase will be kicking off. After that, we'll have the latest on Remnant from the Ashes, Next Gen Console Watch 2020, and of course, the EA Play Live Showcase.
It's a big day, but before all that, let's check in with our charity efforts. All summer of gaming long, IGN is asking you to donate to worthy causes by following links in the description of this video or by heading to donate.ign.com. You can give to the COVID-19 Response Fund, dedicated to studying, tracking, and combating COVID-19, or to the Bail Project, which is working to reunite families separated by the mass incarceration system.
We've already generated over $32,000 to help fight mass incarceration and the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's keep it going. And before we get D&D Live 2020 started, let's talk a little bit about EA and what we might see in their EA Play Live conference later today. While we're on the subject of fantasy role-playing games, I wonder if we'll get any updates on Dragon Age 4 or whatever they decide to call it. We got a teaser at the Game Awards 2018 with the hashtag #TheDreadWolfRises.
Yeah, that was
what are your thoughts on that, Max?
Quite some time ago. I know a lot of people are dying for a proper BioWare game. That obviously Anthem took up a lot of their energy, and I think people are still waiting to hear what happens with the future of Anthem. But we know that there's something Dragon Age related that has been or was in the works or is in the works. So that could be a pretty cool launch title, honestly, if they're trying to kick off next gen with a bang. Come out swinging with a new Dragon Age.
Yeah, that's definitely a really good point. And as far as Anthem goes, I know that there was an interview floating around maybe last week or the week before where someone from BioWare was saying that kind of the rework of Anthem, like they're still putting resources into it, but that it's taking a little longer than they thought. So I'm curious if we will get any actual updates on Anthem, or if it'll just be it's like we're still chugging.
We're working on it. I know that like the saddest thing that happened to Anthem was they forgot to take down their Christmas decorations until like February. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, that's like what happens when when things aren't going right in like normal people's lives, like not in like places where you're fighting dinosaurs with robots.
Right. Well, okay, so what about Star Wars Squadrons? We got the teaser on, what day is it? We got it on Monday. Today's not Monday. It's been a little bit.
The last Monday, which I think was 4 weeks ago, we got our first look at Star Wars Squadrons. I'm dying to see this in action. It's EA Motive, who did the Battlefront 2 campaign. This is a dedicated starfighting game. I imagine we'll get gameplay. It looks like we're starting the D&D stream, I think.
Fantastic. Well...
No, we're not. Okay. They lied.
Well, we're actually not.
They lied to us. Okay, so yeah, we're going to see Star Wars Squadrons. That'll be fun. It's got spaceships. Does it have Wookiees? I don't know. I want to find out what sort of animal men from the space are in it. So, I don't know.
There's still a little bit more time before the D&D Live Showcase, so we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back here when it's over.
News, games, and more is IGN's live news show every day of the week that covers all the day's news about games, movies, comics, and of course more. This is our daily live show that takes a rotating cast of IGN talent going over all the latest news of the day while taking live questions and comments from chat. We're live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you can find us on mixer.com/IGN, youtube.com/IGN, and twitch.tv/IGN. See you there.
The next generation of video gaming is on the horizon, and IGN is here to bring you the latest PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news and analysis in our new weekly show, Next Gen Console Watch 2020. We'll bring on the experts to discuss and analyze all the latest developments around these new consoles. From frame rates, services, features, peripherals, and even all the new tech jargon, Next Gen Console Watch 2020 will keep you up to speed on everything leading up to the next generation of gaming. Join us every Friday for a new episode.
Not only is IGN the world's biggest media brand for games and entertainment, but we also have a team of some of the world's biggest fans of your favorite franchises. From breaking news and exclusives, never-before-seen looks at movies and games, to reviews, let's plays, and live streams, IGN brings you all the coverage you need, no matter where you are. Whether you're on IGN.com, the IGN app, YouTube, Facebook, or Snapchat, we've always got you covered. IGN, the #1 source for all games and entertainment fans worldwide.
If you're not following IGN on social media, what are you waiting for? We're constantly updating our feeds to bring you the latest news, gameplay, custom original content, the best user-generated videos and art, memes, and a whole lot more. Be part of the conversation throughout the year. Follow IGN on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Snapchat. Welcome back to IGN's Summer of Gaming. We are patiently waiting for D&D Live Showcase to start up, but in the meantime, later today, there is the EA Play Live going on. So before we were talking about Star Wars Squadrons, and are you a big Sims player, Max? Because personally, I'm really hoping for a Sims 5 announcement.
No, I respect The Sims. I love their work, but I've never gotten fully into those games. I mostly just appreciate watching what other people do in those weird games.
It's been really fun to see it age with YouTube going on, because I thought I was very good at The Sims in terms of building and whatnot, and there are some pretty intricate designs and buildings that you can find on YouTube. It's cool to see how the internet has really enhanced that game.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be curious to see what they decide to do, because like Sims 4 was that was a while ago, and they've been just mostly adding little tweaks and add-ons and DLC packs for that. But I feel like, especially sort of hot on the tail of Animal Crossing, like, that's a very social game about just kind of chilling out, living life, and making buying a lot of furniture. Like, it would be kind of a good time to kind of capitalize on that and make something maybe that has that same sort of social element to it.
Yeah, speaking of social element, I'm going to put myself on blast a little bit here. I was super into the Sims online community in I think it was end of Sims 2, early Sims 3, and I had a fanfic that I wrote and published on my Sims page. I tried to go back and find it. It was set, I would put at the bottom what music you should listen to when you're reading it, and it was set to Matchbox 20.
Oh man. What? So wait, what was it? Was it a fanfic about original characters?
Yeah, well, sort of. So, with The Sims, there's the goth family. There's kind of the NPCs that you can voluntarily be a part of their lives, but every game has these characters. And so they would come in and out, but it was mainly about this girl. I think her name was Ayla. And I just remember she would cry in the rain a lot. That was a big thing, because I'd take a screenshot and then you'd include a caption at the bottom. And then I actually also entered a competition where you kind of pitched expansion packs for The Sims. I don't remember what it was. I just remember I photoshopped a lot for it. So The Sims, I'm very excited for it. I'm actually really hoping that they announce something for consoles, maybe even next-gen consoles, probably next-gen consoles to be honest. When they had The Sims busting out on, I think that was GameCube, Xbox 360 generation. But it was an RPG. You would have tasks and whatnot. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that'll be cool
nice
to see.
Yeah.
Sort of a more known quantity is obviously Apex Legends is going strong. I imagine we'll get some updates on what they have planned for that. Are you keeping up on Apex?
So I'm not as much as I would like to. To be honest, I had to really have a mini battle royale. Are we?
Is it starting? Is it? No, is that just No, that's just Apex footage.
No,
I got all excited.
That was Apex. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's been a mini battle royale on my PlayStation, which is what I was playing Apex on, because Call of Duty's file size is so large. So I actually had to delete Apex a while ago, and I'm not one to delete things and then download and delete the other thing. That ping pong is a little bit too much for me. So I haven't played in a really long time, but I am noticing that other battle royales are kind of looking at Apex in terms of their innovation level. So it has been really cool to see that they are continuing to take the battle royale genre and add to it and iterate, versus just kind of being okay with, we have a cool, successful game, let's just stay here.
Now, Apex is cool, but I would love to see Respawn come out swinging with Titanfall 3. Titanfall 2 kicked so much ass.
Yes.
That is I feel like everyone was just banging the drum, being like, "This is one of the best single-player shooter campaigns in like a decade. Everyone go play it." And then, like, for whatever reason, I know what happened. It launched alongside Battlefield 1. It came out like a week later or something, and no one paid attention to it. And I mean, it still did well, but like, I don't know. I feel like we're at a point where Titanfall has finally gotten like the amount of fan base that it really should have. And like, Titanfall 3 came out and just blew everyone away, and it was like maybe a next-gen title and more robots and Titan falling and wall running.
Titan falling. You know, Titanfall is one of those franchises that I did not think I would love as much as I love it, because I'm so like boots on the ground. I don't want to wall run. I prefer more realistic art styles. But Titanfall is just, the mechanics are so clean. The story is so good that, yeah, I mean, if you haven't played Titanfall 2, please go play Titanfall 2. I'm
a big fussy baby when it comes to like good robot stuff, but I'm like also like I'm big into like building Gundam models and stuff, and I feel like Titanfall is like, that is one of the closest things we've gotten to like a really like boots on the ground like Gundam game, with the idea that they treated the Titans not like, you know, godly power-ups, but they were like actual machines. They're just like walking tanks. And the fact you could jump on a robot's head and stab it in the door, you know, just like, that's such there's so much fun in that game.
Did you ever play those mech games with I remember I'd play them with my dad, and it had that like little controller. Oh, sorry, I hit my mic.
Oh, the mech warrior stuff?
Yeah.
Those are always like really pretty crunchy, pretty serious.
Alrighty, so I think that we're getting word that the D&D live stream should start any moment now, so why don't we focus our full attention on it now?
Hello, friends and D&D family. Welcome to D&D Live 2020 Roll with Advantage. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm Anna Prosser, one of your hosts, and this is Mika Burton. Mika, I'm so stoked.
Hi, oh my god, so am I. We love D&D, and this is just a weekend full of D&D, so I don't know what could be better, honestly.
Yeah, and you know, if you're not familiar with D&D Live, let us tell you a little bit about why we're here and what we're doing. D&D Live 2020 Roll with Advantage is a celebration of diverse storytellers, creators, and players coming together to conquer any challenge that their dungeon masters can throw at them.
And this year's D&D Live is teaming up with Red Nose Day charity organization and combining the strength of our communities to conquer the challenge of ending child poverty.
D&D fans and supporters of Red Nose Day hold the belief that the strongest parties are the most diverse, and that the best way to combat the issues facing the world is head-on and together.
And to that end, Wizards of the Coast will be matching any donations made this weekend to up to $125,000.
So if you want to make good on that promise from them, go to dndlive2020.com and donate to that worthy cause.
And off of that, we have so much programming to get to this weekend, so we should probably take a look at the schedule, right?
Yes, we have so many fun things.
Goodness.
You probably already saw some of that Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay, but we are here right now at that noon mark, a little bit after, because we are going to show you a reveal of the new D&D Adventure. So stoked.
It is going to be so much fun. We have guests here to talk about the new program, the new game that's coming out, and I can't wait to get to it. How about you, Anna?
Oh, I'm stoked. Yeah, there's going to be lots of gameplay. There's going to be so many opportunities to learn about D&D, and this is one of the first ones. We have an owlbear here named Chris Perkins, who's going to tell us a few things about the game, as well as Jeremy Crawford. Chris being the principal narrative designer for D&D, and Jeremy being the principal rules designer. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Now, guys, we are so excited to reveal the new story. Mika, do you want to do the honors?
Yes. So this is the first time anybody's going to hear the title. So I hope everybody's ready out there. It is going to be called Icewind Dale, the Rime of the Frostmaiden. There it is. There's the cover. Wow, that's cool.
Oh, that's the first time I've seen that. It's so beautiful. What are we looking at on the cover there, guys?
So you're seeing one cover by Tyler Jacobson, which has some poor chap who's frozen dead in the ice, about to be taken into the grasp of the Frostmaiden. And then the other illo by Hydro74 gives a full frontal illustration of the Frostmaiden's owly visage.
That is the Frostmaiden herself, huh?
Yep, in all her glory.
Well, tell us a little bit. Let's get into what this adventure is going to be like. What are the main themes, Chris?
Well, this is a horror adventure set in Icewind Dale, a region far to the north in the Forgotten Realms, locked behind the spine of the world mountains. Themes of the story are isolation, paranoia, and secrecy.
Now, we have a lot of familiar things that we know we can expect in D&D, but we're always looking for the new things. What's going to be fresh and new in this adventure? What are the things that the players can look forward to?
Well, players can look forward to a campaign that embraces the setting and the environment. It's going to be chilly. It's going to be cold. It's a dangerous place, Icewind Dale. The people who go there they have to be very, very brave to survive the perils there. Now, the adventure is structured in such a way that a dungeon master can either run it all the way through or break it up into its smaller pieces, very similar to how the Essentials kit was structured. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I think that in keeping with a horror setting, there are certain tropes that will come up again and again in this adventure that will have the players on the edge of their seats, and DMs will be able to scare them in a whole new way.
Thanks, Chris. That's just what we all want, more trauma as players. Leave it to Chris Perkins for the feature of the new book to be horrible experiences. But no, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
And I think that as we saw on the character or on the cover, one of the is going to be Auriel, the demigod, the new goddess, or not new, but who is the main antagonist of this module. Can you go into a little more detail about her?
Yeah, so D&D, there's gods who are greater gods who don't really manifest physically. You can't interact with them. They're far away, distant figures of great power. But then there are entities that we classify as lesser gods who are, they assume physical forms, and you can shake their hand, or you can, clash swords with them. They're very, very powerful entities, but they can be fought and they can be encountered in an adventure. And Auriel falls into the latter category. And in sort of concepting her for this adventure, we, or I rather, sort of think of her as a very Hela-like figure. Anybody who's seen the movie Thor Ragnarok knows who Hela is. Super, super powerful, but fallible, flawed, and somebody that you can actually confront in the flesh.
And I think you mentioned that we may not always see her looking exactly as we see her in that art, right?
Yeah, Jeremy, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, one of the important parts of the story of deities in Dungeons and Dragons is that they can actually assume many forms. And sometimes in our adventures when we have featured gods, you might see just one stat block for an avatar of that deity. Well, in this book, we actually have multiple stat blocks for the Frost Maiden, depending upon the form that she takes, depending upon when you face her. And speaking of stat blocks, I do want to mention that this book has over 50 of them. I think the largest number of stat blocks that we have included in any of our 5th edition adventures.
That's so exciting. I love the idea of like not knowing how we're going to encounter the Frost Maiden. And you probably won't tell us what those forms are yet, will you?
No, you can see one of them. You can see one of them today, and the rest will be a secret.
Well,
and
guys,
it seems like this new...
No, go ahead, Nika.
Oh, I was just going to say, it seems like this new module is not just giving us so many new stat blocks and so many new monsters, but new ways to play as well. Can you give us a little more detail about what players and DMs can expect when they crack open this book and what they're going to be sitting down to the table to play?
Yeah, so
I think...
Oh. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I insist.
As Chris mentioned earlier, this adventure really delves into the quest structure that we explored in the Essentials Kit. And what we mean by that is it certainly has a large epic story, but that story is divided up into quests that you can embark upon all on their own. So let's say you want to have a standalone adventure in Icewind Dale. You could, as DM, pick one of the quests in this book and run just it and have a complete D&D story by running that little mini adventure. But you can also take all of those quests, play through them, and through the play experience, have this epic horror story emerge. A story where the villain isn't just the Frost Maiden and many other villainous NPCs who make appearances in the adventure, but the villain is also the environment itself. You see on the cover of the book that, yes, the Frost Maiden is prominent, but so is the weather. And because of that, in this adventure, we have forefronted in the play experience and in the rules that you're going to have to go up against things like blizzards, avalanches. You're going to have to figure out how to survive with your food if you get trapped out in this frozen waste. So we even have rules on how to fish up knucklehead trout just to see, can we get something to eat while we are out in this frosty wasteland?
And I imagine that brings a whole bunch of new tools and strategies for a DM, right? New abilities for them to look at an environment.
Yes, absolutely. The DM can take these tools not only to dig into the experience of adventuring in Icewind Dale, but also take those and apply them in other adventures. So we've designed things like the avalanche rules, the blizzard rules, so that they can be used elsewhere. This adventure also includes a number of sports and games for the characters to play within the adventure itself. And many of those experiences could also be ported to other adventures. For example, there is a Goliath sport that the adventurers can participate in as they are making their trek through Icewind Dale.
Goliath Sport?
I'm so excited.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, I know that I'm completely stoked for whichever DM is going to ruin my life in the Icewind Dale and freeze me to death and make me cry. But when can we expect to play this game?
So, Rime of the Frost Maiden comes out later this summer, and it's 320 pages of adventure with a poster map in it. So there's enough content to make a whole nice long campaign out of it. But as Jeremy said, also it's designed to be sliced up. I think that when we were writing the adventure and we were coming up with the themes of the adventure, isolation being the most important, we didn't know 2 years ago that isolation would be such a theme in our real life. That we would all be we'd all be locked away in our private dungeons, waiting to emerge. I have a new sympathy for the people of Icewind Dale and the heroes who have to explore it, having been locked in this basement that I'm in for months on end.
Well, I can't wait to get into it. Thank you so much for making the time from your isolated caves, wherever you are, Chris and Jeremy, to talk to us about this product. The release date is September 15th, 2020, so be sure to look forward to that day. You can pick up Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden then. And guys, don't go anywhere because we have lots more coming your way from D&D Live 2020. And be sure to visit dndlive2020.com to donate to Red Nose Day. We'll be right back.
Look! The Dungeons and Dragons ride!
Welcome back to D&D Live 2020. I am Anna Prosser, and this is my co-host, Mika Burton. Mika, we just saw the new adventure be announced.
I cannot wait. Ice, Maidens, Goliath Sports. What more do you need? What could be better?
Well, now we've got lots more to talk about because we are here to talk about new D&D comic books, and we're joined by some new guests. We've got Amy Garcia, AJ Mendez, Jim Zub, and Jody Hauser. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
It is so
Let's dive right
lovely to
into
see
it.
everyone's faces. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here.
Here we have from IDW, At the Spine of the World is going to be a new comic book coming out. It takes place in the Icewind Dale and 10 Towns. Speaking of Icewind Dale that we just heard about, can you give us a little more detail on what we should be seeing?
Well, it is connected to the Rime of the Frost Maiden world. So we're excited to kind of reveal that. Icewind Day in the middle of a non-stopping blizzard, an endless night, and the rest of them being driven to madness. So that's kind of where our story begins.
Exactly. Lots of feral beasts. You know, we all need those. And, we're excited to introduce some really fun new characters that we actually based on history. AJ found this really cool article about this Viking woman who was a warrior and had a hero's burial and didn't die even though she had a blunt axe wound to the face. And so we were like, we have to create a character and make her barbarian, and she had a hero's, and everyone thought that only Viking males battled, but once we found out that that's not true, we created Runa, which we're really excited to introduce to the world.
Runa is the name of our protagonist?
She is. It is in Old Norse, there's the etymology. It might be mighty strength or secret love, and we just thought that really represented who she is. You know, who survives an axe to the head and just keeps fighting like that? We want to know who she would, what kind of person she would be, and it's just really representative of all of Icewind Dale. These people are hardened and they're tough survivalists. So, you know, what happens when that's the kind of world you have to live in? Do you kind of crack under the pressure, or are you this forged weapon? So all of our characters are pretty rough around the edges. But we also have Amos, who's a human warlock. He is going to be this clever smartass who's got his own secrets. He is so much fun. We have potty mouths, and he's kind of our way to, you know, channel that.
And then we also have Sargon, our favorite, you know, Dragonborn Ranger. So we thought, you know, we'll bring him back for some funny and, you know, just adventure going, because he's so carefree and down for whatever. So we're like, yeah, we have to have a Dragonborn in there. So that was really fun.
He actually comes to us from Frost Giant Fury, which Jim, our co-panelist, did. So we have a little wink in there for you, Jim. There's a little Frost Giant Fury wink for everybody.
Well, it's all part of the same world. I'm so excited to see what you put together here. It's just it's awesome to see this stuff continuing on in the comic series, and the Frozen North is filled with so much possibility. So
it's just kind of terrifying. It's a little you know, John Carpenter The Thing, and it's Lovecraft, and I think there's so much that we can play with there. And in keeping with those really tough, hard characters, we have Patience, who's a tiefling rogue. She has zero patience. She's snarky and witty.
Yeah. Snarky and will cut you if you mess with her. And I'm like, AJ, this is basically you. Like, you are.
It's based on me. Yeah.
She's a total snarky.
She's a cranky grandma. That's my soul. So. And then our final character, Amy,
is a druid who we love. He's a total trust fund rich kid who has no skills. So we thought it'd be hysterical if you had a little nugget who doesn't ever work and doesn't have any skills in the middle of blizzards and wild beasts coming to attack them. And Belvier is going to be our kind of naive, soft-hearted little brat.
Now, guys, I want to hear, we heard about so many great characters. I was especially touched by Runa, where her name might mean like mighty strength or secret love. I feel like that tells us that there's probably going to be a lot of depth to these characters. Which are your favorites, and can you give us any hints of what, you know, kind of human existential character arcs we might be looking forward to? Because that's what we all love about D&D, right? Is the change in a person as they go through these adventures.
I think that we're going to see the biggest change coming from, I believe, like Amy and I both, our favorite really right now is Runa. She's just this woman who breaks all the rules and all the expected rules of society. But she's never left Icewind Dale, and this is her home, and she has to defend it. And then on the completely other side of the spectrum is Belvier, who has really entered the harsh realities of the world, and like how is he going to survive? So we have this really hardened warrior and this just soft boy. how are we
Another great thing about D&D is the sense of family and community. And so what we love about Runa is she's a barbarian. So she when she gives a blood debt, she will die for you, and she dies for her tribe, and she has this innate sense of community and family. And what we'll see throughout these adventures is that her family widens, and she finds this new family with this ragtag team of characters who are nothing like her, who are a quarter of her size. And I think that really captures the spirit of D&D, where you have all different people come together with different interests. And Martin Kokolo, who we're seeing here, I have to give a shout out to the artist. He is so cinematic in his drawings. You feel like you're in the middle of a battle, and he has been crushing it. And we geek out every time we get emails. We're like, oh my God, he's so amazing. And we forget that, it could just pop off the page with an incredible artist. So I think the sense of family and community through these characters really, hopefully, will shine. And we think that that's really the spirit of this world, is making your friends and making your family a little bigger.
I'm also seeing dogs on the page, which is very important.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, we had to get the pups in there.
Right.
I felt like you immediately know who somebody is with how they interact with the puppers, and we immediately have that two very distinct interactions with them, and they're kind of a little Easter egg in there. We're excited about that.
Honestly, I know that I can trust a storyteller when they say that dogs are important to the story. Right. So I'm pretty sure that everyone listening out there is immediately like, when can I get a copy of this? Because there's dogs.
Right. Now, we spent this time in the fantasy world of Icewind Dale and kind of looking into that world, but we also wanted to talk about this world that's a little bit closer to our own, where we go see Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons meet in a comic book with Jim and Jody. What is this? How is this going to take place, guys?
Jody, you're gonna let her rip. Explain how this all works, because it's an amazing project.
Okay, so I have been working on the Stranger Things comics for Dark Horse for a while, and Jim has obviously been working on the Dungeons and Dragons comics for IDW, and I don't actually know whose genius idea it was to be like, yeah, let's put those two things together, because, they have a lot in common. But, so we're actually telling the story of the friends and their sort of entire path as D&D players, like from when they first started playing when they were younger kids, well before season 1, all through the 3 seasons that we've seen, and just how D&D has been sort of the core of their friendship and is their shared language, and how the game changes as their lives have changed and their friend circle has expanded, and just sort of touching down at different games at different points in their lives and relationships, and seeing how everything keeps on moving.
I think that's what makes it so unique, is it's not just a story about the game being played, it's about why we play these games and the kinds of bonds that they create between us. In the Stranger Things series, Dungeons and Dragons takes on a lot of different symbolism, but at the heart of it, it's about that sort of group dynamic and what keeps them questing together, and the kinds of courage that the game exemplifies in their lives. And so using that now as a storytelling tool, Jody and I talked about what kind of key moments, the very first time that they play D&D or they get the game in their hands, the way it changes their friend, kind of dynamic, and then key moments throughout the seasons what has happened, based around D&D. So we get to see glimpses of what's happening in the game and the campaign that they play, really kind of for the first time. Like they touch upon it in the show, but it's always kind of, the end of a sequence or just a little brief kind of action moment. And now we're going to get to dig in a little bit more to what those characters mean. But a lot of it is about how those characters exemplify themselves and the kind of courage that it summons up inside them. And so it's a really nice character piece, and that's what's really joyous about it. I got to dig into my nostalgia for first edition D&D because I started playing kind of around the same age as these characters in the early 80s. So first edition D&D research, I got to pull out all my old books, get my first edition Player's Handbook in there and make sure that it's accurate to what was out at each year, during the show, but then also along with that nostalgia, really tell a character story and an emotional story. And that's what makes it work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about Stranger Things is that it is such a time capsule of its era, and we sort of want to continue that through and make sure all the D&D stuff is right on the money, because there's definitely people who will notice if we do it wrong. I mean, Jim, first of all, obviously.
It's true. I'm a little specific. Normally when you're working on any kind of commercial project, you've got a reference pool. I'm scanning so much stuff. I've got screenshots of all kinds of different things. At one point, I was trying to find out what the suggested retail price of the original, D&D box set, the basic set was. I was trying, asking all these crazy questions just to make sure we get it right, because I just wanted to feel like it's in that time. One of the things I really love about the cover, it's got the original, D&D logo on there. Like, I know that obviously 5th edition is the standard and I love it a lot, but there's something really special about original D&D, and that logo conjures up so many good memories for me and hopefully for a lot of other people as well. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you were talking about how, you got to go back into the old original Dungeon Master Guide. And are there any cool D&D Easter eggs that you've written into this comic that longtime D&D fans can get excited about, or are those hush-hush?
There is quite a bit. So there's some really strange things that people may not have realized. On the original box set of D&D, for example, the basic set, the polyhedron dice were not specifically made for D&D. They were ordered from like a math company that would use them to explain concepts of randomized numbers. And so the D20, although it has 20 sides on it, actually has 1 to 10, 1 to 10. And the game would include a little like a crayon or a marker that you would mark off half the sides, so they were like the low 10 and the high 10, because again, the dice were not specifically manufactured for the game. And so when I was talking to the gang, I was sending them these screenshots of this is how the old stuff looked. Can we have that on the dice? We don't have to call it out specifically in the story, but if someone sees that D20 that half the sides are marked up, will they recognize that and kind of realize, holy crap, they really made it as substantial and accurate as possible, stuff like that. Yeah.
And those emails.
I just got a history lesson. Yeah.
So, and that's dorky stuff that the vast majority of people will not pick up on. But I love that kind of stuff. Like when I did the Rick and Morty versus D&D series, we went through, 5 editions of D&D. And every time we would use material from a specific era, we always tried to hit it properly. And that meant a lot to me that we would get it right, So if Rick Sanchez is calling out some weird thing from first edition, that he's saying it exactly, right from the book or what may have you. And no one will probably notice, the vast majority of people. But when they do, you can see that there's care involved and there's a real love and nostalgia for the material, And Jody knows these characters so well from the writing she's been doing in the Stranger Things comic series. So it's been great to be able to bounce stuff off of her in terms of getting the emotional arcs right with the characters, making sure the voices sound right. She's been writing them for years now. So it's just nice to be able to kind of take both elements of it and put it all together.
Yeah, and it's also, I think, especially fun to delve into something that, you know, obviously they're still surrounded by all the events in the series and all the darkness and monsters that they had to fight. But, you know, getting to see them in sort of their quieter moments and the moments that really build up who they are as people to even be able to deal with all this, you know, crazy upside down and demogorgons and all of that. So I always find stories like that that really examine the foundations of who characters are and what has shaped them to be who they are to be really exciting. And I think the way we crafted the mini series, where it's just snapshots at different points, you really do get to see that evolution really, really clearly.
And they grow. Yeah. And Diego Galindo, the artist on the series, he's got a really tough job because you want to have these characters look like the actors, but you don't want it to look boring or traced like photographs. You don't want it to be static. They still have to have a lot of, you know, emotive qualities. And that's really tough for an artist to do when you've got to do likenesses and still have them in new scenarios. And I think he's done just a phenomenal job at balancing those two elements out. The characters are instantly recognizable, but they don't feel stiff. The pages are just lush and full of really beautiful moments and emotion. It's been a really special project to be part of.
It's a beautiful cover.
So good.
That cover is gorgeous, and I love how it feels like it's very much at the heart of both, you know, the characters and the characters that they're playing. So,
and there's something very iconic and simple about it, but it harkens back to that era very well, you know.
You know, guys, I was thinking about what it must be like to write stories like these in comic books, to have this visual and literary medium. And I know that as D&D players, one of our favorite things to do is share the stories of our adventures and tell what happened to our characters to other players of D&D that love it that much. So you kind of got to do that. You got to tell this story that you imagined. Are there any particular pieces, and you don't have to, you know, spoil the story, but if somebody's going into these comic books and they're wanting to see like the coolest moment, what would be some of the places you would point them to, moments that you were like, oh, this was so amazing, I just want to tell this story to everybody? And why don't we start with Amy and AJ on yours?
Well, for me, I feel like you don't know what you're capable of until you're in it, right? And you don't know what choices you make. And so I think one of the best moments for me is like, what do you do when you have to choose between making a selfish choice and doing a choice that would benefit your tribe and community? And so I've had to deal with that, you know, like actor, I always stick with my people and will fight for them. And I'm ride or die with AJ. I'm ride or die with my inner circle. And I feel like for me, it's this woman who is a barbarian and, you know, she's in this very, dangerous, raw, almost like an Iceland, like today's Iceland, where the elements are dangerous enough, and much less like the beasts that are coming out, you know, of nowhere. And she makes a choice. She actually chooses to, you know, protect her tribe and her team instead of going to what's comfortable and what she knows and going back to her barbarian tribe. So for me, it's all about expanding, you know, and stepping up for your people, but you don't know if you step up until like you're in the shit. And you're like, oh, and then once you step up in the shit, then you're like, oh, I'm the kind of character or the kind of person that steps up when the chips are down for the people I love.
Yeah, and playing with that, you know, there is that side where we have the very clear black and white, what is the right choice. But sometimes, especially in a world that is so rough, like Icewind Dale, that choice might not be clear. You might need to make some morally questionable choices. And I think that is a really a part of D&D that is so interesting, is that what is right? Like, can you be a little bit bad and a little bit good at the same time? Are you making the right choices, the wrong choices for the right reasons? So that's something that we're really playing with in this, and we're excited to share that. Oh, look at the cover! I don't think
there's the cover. Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's funny because when you're creating characters from scratch, you have to not only build their appearance and their background, but also their moral compass. And I remember AJ and I having this conversation about a particular character who we won't mention. One of the ones you saw might be morally ambiguous. And I really struggled with that. And I thought, well, there's right and there's wrong. And AJ was like, no, in a crazy world, you look at like Walking Dead, shows where it's apocalyptic and dire, you might have to do something bad for the right reasons. And I really had to sit on that. And AJ had to convince me that what's beautiful about D&D that it's not black and white. It's very gray, and there's shades of gray. And these characters should reflect those shades of gray. You might have to burn down a family hut in order to save the village, or you might have to,
Oh my goodness!
We don't do that. Not yet.
We've all been there.
No one's in the
So
hut.
it's funny. Before we started the stream, I was talking to them, and they were talking about writing on the D&D comics, and I said when I started doing the D&D comics back in 2014, what I wanted to try and give to the series was a sense that anything can happen at the table, that those split-second decisions, the Dungeon Master doesn't know what's coming and the players don't quite know where the story's going to go, and that it has a bit of a runaway train kind of feel. And if you're doing the action right, I feel like that's quintessential D&D to me, is that it's got that feeling of big choices, big moments, and that's what I'm really excited to see in, Spine of the World, see what the girls put together here. I'm super excited to read it, and the artwork is phenomenal. I'm really, really impressed. This is the first time I'm seeing those pages too, and I'm just like pumped. I'm pumped to see this adventure come together. And these characters.
We're very inspired by your book. We were like, Jim, we're fans. You gave us such a great jumping off point. We feel like we have to carry the torch of adventures with new Rugrats.
I think really cool. The worlds of D&D are so expansive, and they're just infinite. You can do different parts of the world, different groups of adventurers, and it feels like it can encompass anything. You can do a horror story, you can do a mystery, you can do big action, soft, dramatic moments. That's what role-playing is all about, is about options, giving options to the players and giving options to the readers. Absolutely. So
Jody and Jim, did you guys have any particular moments or themes you wanted to point out for readers to look for in your books that were your favorite parts of the story?
I think one of my favorite things is actually, obviously there's the adventure that the boys are playing, but sort of seeing some of the behind the scenes stuff, like what does the DM do when, a character's maybe supposed to be dead and he doesn't really want them to be dead? Like, how do you cope with that? So I think that was a really fun, because that's sort of not something you really get to see very often in these stories, is sort of like the behind the scenes and the angst and like the DM having to act like they know what they're doing when they maybe really don't, and just what happens when the party expands too. How do new players coming into a game fit in, and how does that change the dynamic?
We had a lot of fun discussing Max, because remember they talk about what the different character classes are, and she says she wants to be a Zoomer. And it's like, wait a minute, what's a Zoomer? There's no such thing as a Zoomer. And so then I was going through the books, and I was like, no, there's no such thing as a Zoomer, but, and then you start digging into what's actually possible in D&D. And I found a canon way to make a Zoomer work, but not the way I think people will expect. And it surprisingly works in the context of even first edition D&D, and I'm pretty happy with that. So that's kind of a little cute thing where it was a bit of a challenge that the show gave us, like, okay, how would you make that work? Putting Max and 11 at the table was a real joy, and I think it allows them to blossom and see a different side of themselves, and it plays off of the changing dynamic that happens in the group in the show over the course of those seasons. So there's some really, really fun and cute moments. And probably the scene I'm most proud of is in the first issue. We show how Dustin meets the other boys thanks to the power. And I was really nervous about writing that, because that's literally a moment that we've never seen in the show. And I'm writing the first thing these kids say to each other and how they meet. And I wrote it, and I kind of, Jody went over it, and we back and forth and found a really fun, cute moment, like a really great moment that feels like something right out of the show and is also exemplified thanks to Dungeons and Dragons. So.
And it's very much who they are, and it's sort of a great example of, yes, these kids might not have all grown up together, but they were always meant to be friends. They were always meant to be a party.
Yeah, it's really sweet stuff. So
I feel like that's such a common theme that we're hearing in both of these stories, whether it's new content or it's based off of an IP that so many people know and love, this sense of found family. And it seems that you guys are also putting your own experiences and what D&D means to you in these stories. Do you find that that's just an essential part of your writing, all four of you, putting a piece of you into the story?
Oh, for sure. And I think, yeah, I was just going to say, I think like me and Jim coming together to work on this for the first time, it is very much like a party coming together and like learning how to work together. So there's even a little bit of that feeling just in the creative process of making the book.
And we've started tabletop gaming now, Jody and I as well, which has been a lot of fun too, right? Just as I think it's an extension of that. You go to conventions and you meet people, other professionals and people in this field, and they become a bit like a found family. And that's what a role-playing game group is. I met my wife through role-playing games. I have some of my closest friendships, some of my deepest contacts in the world are people that I've gamed with. And those experiences at the table, they echo outwards in all kinds of directions. I'm thrilled to be just a tiny little part of D&D Live this year. Last year, it was one of the best events of my life. I got to play with Micah and Anna. I got to play with all kinds of other amazing people. And that shared bond of D&D and gaming together, it changes you in all the right ways. It makes you empathize more and build better bonds with people. So I can't help but put that into my storytelling.
I mean, telling stories together is the best way to start a friendship, in my opinion. So.
Well, even with Jim and Jody, when we were waiting to be on live, we just started asking them about, Jim's like, I've been playing D&D since I was 8 years old. My older brother brought me into it. And then AJ was curious. AJ's like, well, how do you guys write together as a team? And then we started picking their brain, and it just kind of became this really nice kind of new dynamic. And I think when we were talking about Stranger Things, I said, I think Stranger Things really captures the D&D spirit of never growing up and still always playing. Like, just because you're above the age of 12, it doesn't mean you can't manifest your fantasy into something real with other people. And I never want to grow up. I mean, I refuse to really become a grown up, but I pay bills and parking tickets and stuff. But I think one of the things I love about Stranger Things and D&D is that it reminds you to never lose that childlike spirit of wonder and imagination and being open and realizing that we're all on the same journey, So I think it seems like you guys infused into that. Now we have new friends. I was looking up. I was like, God, Mika's hot and Anna's so hot. How is this? I was talking to my friends. I was like, so hot. I'm so excited. So I just feel like the community just keeps getting bigger and bigger because there's this universal sense of play and adventure.
That's been one of the most exciting things for me, being able to contribute to D&D, since 5th edition launch, being able to do the comics, the Rick and Morty series, the Young Adventurers guides to try and bring new people into the hobby. All that stuff is about sharing time together and spending time and making experiences that we're all going to remember. And they're interactive and they're engaging, and the emotional stuff is real. The bonds are real. The friendships are real. And that's what makes these games so special and why I think they're better than almost any other kind of entertainment you can find, And Absolutely. If we can get people into that thanks to the comics or remind them about that stuff, then that's what, what we want to do.
100%. Totally. And reminders to everybody who's been watching this, At the Spine of the World, issue 1 comes out October 21st at idwpublishing.com. Stranger Things and Dungeons & Dragons comes out November 4th, 2020, darkhouse.com. And you can get 20% off At the Spine of the World and all D&D products if you use the code D&D Live 2020. It is valid through June 18th through the 30th at idwpublishing.com. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. We just love D&D.
Thank you for having us. There's been a lot of good feels here. Yeah.
My heart is so full.
I mean,
Thank you guys again so much. And if you're watching, don't go anywhere because we are going to be right back. We're going to have a Heroes Feast coming right up. We'll see you very soon.
Yes.
people are doing incredible, selfless things, working from the front line. Like Pam, a nurse on a mobile clinic for a program supported by the Children's Health Fund, funded by Red Nose Day. Pam sees over 150 children a month, and her advice and treatment can be life-saving.
Staying open during the pandemic was essential because I knew our families were going to be lost without anything.
Thanks to your generosity, Pam and these mobile clinics are still going strong across the U.S. in the middle of this crisis.
Thank you for giving to Red Nose and to mobile healthcare. You're providing hope, health to so many children and families so that maybe one day they could be the ones serving and taking care of you. So thank you.
Essential workers like Pam are the quiet heroes working from the front lines. I understand that times are tough right now, but if you can look in your heart and give whatever you can afford, we'd appreciate it.
Hello and welcome back to D&D Live 2020. We are here for a Heroes Feast. That's right, it's cookbook, and we are going to be cooking, Mika.
This is actually a cooking show. Like D&D meets cooking. This is my two only interests in the world. I'm so ready for this.
We have some special guests here with us. We have John Peterson, Kyle Newman, and Michael Whitwer. Welcome, guys. We're so excited to see what you're going to cook. Could you guys introduce yourselves each in a row and then let us know what you're going to be cooking for us today?
Absolutely. So,
John?
I'm John Peterson, and I study the history of role-playing games and war games, and I am going to be making drinks.
People on the internet.
It's
You
time
guys
for
shut the
drinks.
internet off. It's all blurred on me.
So that's my plan.
Great. What about you, Kyle?
And
Kyle?
Oh, Michael, you go.
All right, sure.
I'm Kyle Newman, and today we are making... Oh, you're going, Michael.
I'm going. I'm Michael Whitwer. I'm an author. I write about D&D. I work with these two other people we're on today to do a lot of books on D&D. And today I'm going to cook elven bread, or I'm going to bake elven bread to be exact.
And I'm
Kyle, what about
Newman,
you?
And we're cooking pan-fried knucklehead trout, and we've got an array of ingredients ready to go. This is an Icewind Dale specialty.
Now, let's get right into the first one because we only have so much time. I don't know how you guys are going to cook us an entire meal of fish and bread and a cocktail. So we should get started right away. I think we're going to start with elven bread, right?
Yes, take it away,
Absolutely.
Michael.
Okay, we're going to use a little bit of magic here. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, for everybody watching, elven bakers have been protecting this recipe for generations. What you're about to see has never been seen before. So I'm just going to put it out there. And as you can see there, it is a visual of some of the original illustrations we have for this book. Beautiful. So I'm going to jump right into it. Again, elves are known for, we did a lot of study on this during the preparation of this book, the kinds of ingredients they're into. Think wholesome, light, delicious flavors, all natural ingredients. They don't like preservatives. They prefer citrus to salt. That's the kind of palette that we've found with a lot of elves. In this particular case, this elven bread here is actually one that was originally, I will tell you from part of our research, was sourced from the Aurora's Guide, which is an obscure second edition catalog, kind of an in-world catalog of Forgotten Realms stuff that you could buy. An elven bread was in there. It originates from the Isle of Evermeet. If you know Evermeet, that's where a lot of elven people are from. And so we're going to give this a shot. Now, I have already pre-prepped most elements of this bread. We're not going to sit here and watch me bake, as it were. So I've basically done all the previous steps. So what I have here is dough here in front of me. I hope you can see it. It's kind of laid out right in front of me, right where my name tag is. So the things I'm doing are brilliant, I promise. And in this dough here, we've got yeast, whole milk, honey, eggs, butter, salt, whole wheat flour, as well as all-purpose flour. So again, really wholesome. This is just an absolutely delicious, not only a snack bread, it can be a dessert bread, it can be a breakfast bread, all kinds of things. Well, all we're going to do here today is kind of the finishing steps before I go ahead and put it in the oven, which is I'm going to do a little bit of an egg wash right here on the bread. Now, I don't know how well you can see this.
And by the way, if it looks like I don't know what I'm doing at any time, that's not the case at all. I'm using secret elven techniques.
Right.
And that's what it is. So please be aware of that.
Yeah,
so
I see them. I see the techniques.
I know, right? You've never seen this before.
It's
So
like
what we're doing here again. Exactly. So we're doing this light egg wash inside. And the reason we do that is not only to let the filling adhere to the inside of the bread. It's a swirl bread. It's also to actually prevent gaps from filling when you bake the bread. So it has that kind of dual purpose. Okay, now we've got a nice egg wash all the way inside. And what we have here, if you can see it, this is a cinnamon and sugar filling, basically a powder. Ooh. So we're just going to apply that lightly. Yeah, this is going to be pretty good, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to do it really fast, as if I'm like Rick Bayless or something like that. All right. So we've got now our filling applied throughout. And this is the last piece here. And I hope you can see at least some of this. What I'm now going to do is I'm just going to spread out the filling just kind of once nicely over. And I'm going to roll this up. This is basically a rolled log. And that's how the swirl effect is created in the bread. So again, I'll hold it up before I get a little flour on my hands.
See,
and
it's awful doing this in the middle of the afternoon because I'm hungry right now.
Right? And so we're going to go ahead and place the log seam side down, and I'll try to show that to you about what that looks like. As you can see, you've got the buttered pan here, and you've got the seam side there. So that's going to actually rise for a little while, and then we're going to use a little bit of magic today and make this bake extra fast, and just see if we can't get a pretty good result.
That's awesome.
Wonderful. Well, while that magic is happening, I think it's trout time.
Oh, it's trout time over here in New Jersey. So we've got pan-fried knucklehead trout. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this dish, but I think if you or your characters ever visited 10 towns up above the spine of the world, you would know that this is a very popular dish. And we're going to make it today. So what would you like to know?
Well, first of all, what is a knucklehead trout?
Well, knucklehead trout, there's 3 lakes, and those lakes service the 10 towns. And this knucklehead trout can only be found in this region. And it's known because it has this bulbous knuckle head, and people make things out of the heads, and it's a popular thing that they export. But the meat itself is very great and flavorful. And if you're in other realms, you can also use different types of trout. So today I'm using rainbow trout instead because COVID had prevented the shipment of knucklehead trout to me. So we're going to go with something else in the trout family. And what I've done here is I've taken this and I've peppered and salted it, and you want to let that soak and sit and breathe for about 5 minutes before you take it to the pan. And we're going to walk over here to the pan, and we are going to cook this right up, and I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in here. You're supposed to measure, but it's Thursday.
Magical measurement.
We get it to it.
Yeah.
You want to do this at like a medium high type temperature. And if you don't have your unseen servant, you want to make sure you're being very careful when you touch hot things and when you're cutting. Me, I use a mage hand, and I pre-prep most of this. We could jump through phases, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this delicious piece of trout, and we're going to put it down flesh side first, and you put it very gently into the pan. What you're going to do is massage it a little, love your food, and then you're going to let this cook for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. And what we want is it to be you want an opacity in the flesh, and you want to make sure it gets like a golden brown. And then we're going to flip it, and we're going to do this. When it's ready, you're going to make sure it gets a nice golden brown, and then we'll take it and we're going to flip it. And the first what I forgot to do with this one, which I made a mistake, is very sorry. We're going to go back up here. I forgot to bread.
Oh, yum.
And you gently bread it. And what I've done here is this is flour, salt, and paprika. And you want to use a sweet paprika. And you gently rub it on and bread it. And
We know that the last dish was
important first phase.
The last dish was elven. What kind of cuisine are we looking at here with that sweet paprika?
Now this is a human dish, and human, we take this right from the player's handbook, and it's a broad spectrum, and that really relates to humans across the whole multiverse. They are the most adaptable, diverse. You're going to see them living in all types of topographies and environments, and that's reflected in their cuisine too. And humans, their food tend to be quicker to prep, quicker to eat, because they want to get on with adventuring and conquering and doing things, as opposed to, elves and dwarves might let their foods marinate longer and they might savor it a little bit differently. But humans want to get on with their business. And just a place like Toril has dozens of cultures and subcultures and regions that all speak to different types of food. So up north here, you fresh fish. You're going to get gamey meat. There's a lot of barbarian tribes and hunting, but also humans are known for foraging and farming, and it's going to kind of cover the whole spectrum. And 10 towns in particular, this is the delicacy.
When you guys were researching this cookbook, you were looking all over the realms for these recipes. I imagine that finding a human recipe may have been a little easier, but I don't know. You guys have done research through years and years of D&D and Forgotten Realms lore, correct?
This is 45 years of research, just like we did with Art and Arcana.
Yep.
Yeah, just like we did with Art and Arcana. This is a deep dive into the fiction and also what's been in the game. And so there's a lot of cross-referencing between what might have been cited in a book 30 years ago and then what's mentioned in a game book later about what ingredients are readily available. So it became fun finding out, comparing things years apart, decades apart by different authors and finding out what makes up the cuisine and the palate of these cultures.
Yeah, and if I may add,
so we've got
that was a really fun part of the process. This notion that, as researchers, the research isn't really any different. It's just that it happened to be on fictional elements, right? So we're scouring through 45 years of D&D rule books and novels and all kinds of things to find where they've mentioned food. And what's interesting is that it wasn't a particularly rich history relative to a lot of other things that exist in D&D. So again, there are some notable things that stand out. If anyone that reads Dragonlance, for example, would know Oddick's spicy fried potatoes, right? They talk about them all the time. So things like that are low-hanging fruit. But there was a lot of things that really weren't very fleshed out. So it really became this interesting study about jumping into where we could really do a study of these different fantasy cultures and figure out, well, what are the availability of ingredients that halflings have? What is the etiquette of elven people? What do they think about? How does morality connect with their own appetite? A good example of that, elves, we discovered almost across the board, they have a lot of food restrictions, usually based on their beliefs. Elves, of course, being people that really value life. And all types of life. And so, again, we found that there's a lot of vegetarians and pescatarians and vegans within elven cultures. And so we tried to reflect all of that in the book as we really dug deep on what these different fantasy cultures really like when it comes to food.
That's incredible. I mean, that sounds like a dream job, is to research what elves eat.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. They actually paid us for this too. I can't believe it still. But
how is that fish looking, Kyle?
So we've got a couple things going on here. We've got the fish, and it's ready, and we're making a sauce. Now this sauce consists of 4 tablespoons of freshly and shallots, pre-cut in here, and we're going to let this get golden brown. We want it to be an aromatic, almost nutty type scent. And it's about, like I said, 2 to 3 minutes. You don't want to burn it, but you want to, gently stir it around and make sure it's getting evenly cooked. It's going to look something like this. And then what we're going to do is this mixture, and we are going to adorn it on top of our
Oh, this is really not helping my hunger.
And you want to take a lemon, and what you want to do is normally you take the lemon and you take half of it, and you'd want to just get all the juice out of there, And you can garnish it with cubes of the other half, or little slices, and some additional parsley. You want about a good 2 tablespoons of freshly chopped parsley, because you're going to cook. The recipe calls for about 4 4-ounce pieces of trout. So that's what we're looking at right here.
Wow,
that is
gorgeously
beautiful.
plated.
Oh, I love the seashell plate as well.
Yes.
Nice little touch there.
Plate. I'll mail you guys this. You guys can try this in 3 days.
Kyle, what's your favorite part of this recipe? What made it super interesting to you as part of the human cuisine and all of the research?
Well, what I love about just researching D&D food and what D&D in general is it's so familiar, but there's something adjacent that is fresh and exciting. And just learning about the nature, the ecosystem of the 3 lakes and 10 towns, and how their cuisine evolves from that, and what are the regional difficulties, the environmental difficulties, how people adapt, and this being like a signature dish. I just thought it was like getting something fresh, but mixing it with a couple exciting different things you wouldn't expect, and making something that you can bring to your tabletop, because there's 2 things that are common, and that's between D&D and cooking, is that you are gathered around a table, and it is community, and you're forming a little family, and families eat together. So I just wanted to find things, and that was our mission with this book, was find things that could bring people together at a tabletop, and maybe it's something that's a little off the beaten path that you wouldn't normally get, but it brings you deeper into the in-universe quality of the game that we all seek, the immersion.
That's amazing. And so since we've had bread and we've had a main course, now it's time, personally my favorite part, the cocktail. Mm-hmm. John, how about you take us into that?
Yeah, so you've got to have something to wash all this down, all of this deliciousness.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the great constants of D&D throughout the ages is taverns, and the fact that people get together, they drink. This could be the place that you run into that wanderer with a treasure map who encourages you to go on the next adventure or whatever. And if you're me, beverages do play a certain role in playing the game as well. You will always find beverages at my tabletop, potent beverages. So we're going to talk about one today that we call the Mind Flayer. And I'm sure most people watching this are familiar with the idea of a Mind Flayer. This is something that can suck the intellect out of your brain. And so and these are drinks, by the way, that when we describe them, we never give them one name typically, because we imagine there are a lot of regional variants of these that are going around. So some people might call this the Cone of Cold, making it a bit differently than we make it here. But the Mind Flayer version is largely a grape juice and ginger and vodka drink that will come out very cold. And so you will get an ice cream headache from your first hit of this, I promise. But to go a bit into how you prepare it. So it takes about 3 tablespoons of cut up ginger. We've already cut up the ginger. And then you need a good amount of lime juice as well. You can see we've got the fresh squeezed limes that were used for this. And what you end up with from that, you put in the blender, and it results in this kind of paste that you then kind of squeeze out with a little mini colander strainer here. And that ends up yielding the syrup. And the syrup is the first ingredient we're then going to put into the big blender. You see this enormous ninja blender. And by the way, when I turn this on, I almost always flinch because it is a violent blender. It takes about a minute to do the cycle. So don't be surprised if you see me flinch a bit. Before I put that in, we're going to start with the ice in this. And you need about 3 cups of crushed ice. And so I have some kind of pre-crushed ice here. And we're going to go in first. I hope it isn't too loud. We will mute when we turn the blender on, because I'm serious. This thing is a monster.
Yes, no worries.
Protect the headphone users.
Yeah.
Exactly. We need 3 cups of that. And then we're going to put in this beautiful grape juice concentrate. And this is what really is going to give you the hard grape flavor of this. We'll get that all in. We add to that then the syrup. Is very tasty. And then finally we get to the good stuff. Now, I've found, and I've made this one a few times, we recommend 5 shots to go in this. And this is not intended to serve one person. This is obviously for you and your entire adventuring party. But I'll put in probably 4.5 here. I think that has worked for me doing this in the past. And once this is all in, we will seal up this arcane chamber and the alchemical reaction will begin. And like I said, it will get quite loud here in a second. So let me get this all set up. and I will go on mute. You may talk among yourselves while I'm doing that.
Okay, great.
Wonderful. I know that a very important part of cookbooks is the food photography. You can't really get across how tasty this food is without looking at it. Can you guys talk about the process of the food photography for your cookbook, Hero's Feast?
Absolutely. There was, and Kyle, feel free to jump in on this one. So we did, I believe there are 40 or 50 photographs of the 80 dishes that appear in Hero's Feast. And, I have to give it to our publisher, 10-Speed, who really spared no expense to make this, honestly, the absolute best food photography. I'm not exactly impartial here, but the best food photography I've ever seen. And part of that, again, was this notion that we felt very, very passionate about bringing D&D to life. That's been done very, very seldom. If you consider there was once a D&D movie, there's, maybe a couple examples, but how often have you ever seen what was once an illustration come to life? We felt very passionate to make sure that our food was appearing in scenes that were authentic. And one of the ways that we did that was we actually commissioned to have a number of famous D&D magical items built. For example, you may, in some of the sides of the shot, see a dragon orb, or you might see the hand of Vecna in a shot over here. So again, we really, we personally showed up to the photo shoot. They had an unbelievable team of art designers and photographers and prop people and production designers. It was really beyond all expectation we could have had. And I think the results will show at the end of the day.
Looks like John may be ready to show us, but John, we can't quite hear.
It is ready.
There you go. Okay, now we can hear you. So tell us about the mic player.
Sorry. Well, so it is done. I was just going to add to that bit about the photo shoot. We got to bring all kinds of cool props that we shot with it, many of which came from our private stashes here. And so you'll see all sorts of great in-world artifacts that went along with those shots as well.
Great. Now, I think everybody has finished their dishes. So should we go in order? We see the finished elven bread, starting with you, Michael.
Michael, I think your audio is muted.
My apologies. I've been told my mic is off. So here we have our beautiful completed loaf of elven bread. And we're going to go ahead and actually give that a cut here. So just give me a sec.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Got to use what you've got when you're an adventurer, you know?
It's true. It's true.
And I'm going to show you the swirl of this bread here if we can. So that's just this beautiful, wholesome honey, butter, yeast, eggs, whole wheat. Again, I actually love this. My kids can't get enough of it. So that's our elven bread. And again, a single bite of this might maintain an adventurer for an entire day on the trail. So it's a magical bread.
Can't wait to try that one. And Kyle, I think we saw the trout, right? You want to show us again one last time? Get the full meal picture?
I've been making more.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we had, what I've got here is, here's another fresh, and there's some of this sauce. Again, it's shallots and butter and some salt and some pepper. And you want to get it golden brown and just drizzle it on top here. It's got a lemon crushed into it as well. You want to get some of those onions, shallots, and you want you always want to garnish. We're going to put some of the fresh parsley on top. And ready to go. It's got a very taste between the paprika and the shallot and the butter, the olive oil, and the natural flavors of the trout. So it's a good indigenous dish if you're trying to start a campaign up in Icewind Dale.
Mm-hmm. And John, how would you recommend that we serve this Mind Flayer cocktail?
Well, so I prefer to do it, obviously, in an appropriate goblet, the sort of thing you might find in the Yawning Portal, that you might find maybe even the Celestial Vista in Eberron.
Of course.
But it pours thick. This is almost as fleshy as you can see. And I found that it works well, actually, with straw. To get that in, and sometimes even stir it a little bit with the straw. But since we're getting towards the end of the segment, I will not resist partaking a little bit.
I imagine if you're an illithid, you know, the tentacles get in the way, so a straw would help with the drinking.
That's true.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Or
what
if you're a
kind of,
dwarf with a
utensil-
large beard.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Important considerations.
Man, I'm so jealous of
I can
everyone. They're just
confirm.
chowing down.
I can confirm the mind flayer does indeed flay your mind. So beware. But it is an unbelievably refreshing drink. I can't say enough about the mind flayer.
Well, look at this beautiful cover.
Yeah, go ahead, Mika.
Oh yeah, no, just it's clearly what everybody pictures when they're in a scene in a tavern and your DM is telling you that you're chatting up some local informant or you're just having some ale with your adventuring party. It is warm, it is hearty, the food looks beautiful, and right there in the corner, release date October 27th, 2020. So everyone at home can make their own mind flayers, knucklehead trout, elven bread, and more, I'm assuming. I'm hoping there's some stews. I'm a big fan of stew, personally.
Well, we've got
Stew is one of the first recipes. Yep.
So many. There's stews. There's bouillabaisse. There's I mean all kinds of different. We really tried to capture everything we possibly could. Sword Coast bouillabaisse, to be exact. So it's of course this great seafood stew. No, but again, we really tried to be authentic too. You know, one thing that to be as far as one can be super serious about a D&D cookbook. We did. We took it, really seriously with regard to being authentic and making sure that things we were making, they weren't just kind of tongue-in-cheek or silly, but they were things that were authentic to the D&D world, things you would actually get if you showed up at the Yawning Portal. And that was just, again, it was a real passion of ours. And that's one of the reasons we actually, as part of our illustrations, which none of which are done, by the way, including that cover, I will tell you, we're all at the conceptual stage right now, but we're getting there. And we actually did in-world menus for 4 of the most famous tavern establishments. So at various points, you'll come across, for example, the Yawning Portal menu. You'll come across the Celestial Vista menu. Of course, Inn of the Last Home from Dragonlance. So we provided those to, again, provide even that much more authenticity.
Thank you guys so much for all of that research that you did to get us into this world. And we can't wait to make these at our own table. Thank you so much for your time to come talk to us today and for making this food. That was an amazing marathon of cooking.
It was.
Yeah. And guys, remember, of course, that this is going to be available October 27th, 2020, if you're looking to add this cookbook to your own collection. And don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back with WizKids talking about some new miniatures. Don't forget in the meantime, during this break, that you can go to dndlive2020.com and donate to Red Nose Day so that D&D can match that donation up to $125,000 for a great cause.
Yes.
So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a minute.
people are doing incredible, selfless things, working from the front line. Like Pam, a nurse on a mobile clinic for a program supported by the Children's Health Fund, funded by Red Nose Day. Pam sees over 150 children a month, and her advice and treatment can be life-saving.
Staying open during the pandemic was essential because I knew our families were going to be lost without anything.
Thanks to your generosity, Pam and these mobile clinics are still going strong across the U.S. in the middle of this crisis.
Thank you for giving to Red Nose and to mobile healthcare. You're providing hope, health to so many children and families so that maybe one day they could be the ones serving and taking care of you. So thank you.
Essential workers like Pam are the quiet heroes working from the front lines. I understand that times are tough right now, but if you can look in your heart and give whatever you can afford, we'd appreciate it.
Hey, look! The Dungeons and Dragons ride!
Coronavirus has had an impact on us all in some way. And while children have not been the face of this pandemic, it's the kids already struggling in poverty who could suffer the most. Kids who are missing out on meals because their families can't put food on the table. Kids who can't easily access healthcare or medicines. And further away, children who don't have clean water, or those who are already on the brink of serious hunger. But with your support, we can help. The money you give to Red Nose Day tonight means healthcare, clean water, medicine, and food gets to kids in the United States and around the world. $5 can help pay for vital medical supplies for children visiting a mobile health clinic. $35 can buy 50 masks to protect health workers across the globe while they do their life-saving job. $50 can help provide at least 500 meals for kids and families right here in America. You can make a difference right now. Go to rednoseday.org. Thank you.
Welcome back to D&D Live 2020 Roll with Advantage, where we are raising money for Red Nose Day. As you saw, don't forget to visit dndlive2020.com if you'd like to donate. But right now, we are here to talk about some amazing new miniatures from WizKids, and we have two new guests to welcome. Welcome V Muse and Patrick O'Hagan. You may know V Muse as the Crafty Muse on YouTube, the DM on Kobold Press's Twitch, and for D&D in a Castle. And Patrick is the executive producer of RPGs at WizKids. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Hi.
And we have a third guest as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, we do. He snuck in. Did they freeze? They might have.
I think they did freeze. Well, then we will be talking.
They're just very stoic.
They can be. They can absolutely be extremely stoic and very stiff-lipped if need be. Our guest is Justin Zoran.
Well, when they pop in, we will speak with them, but they are stoic just like the new line of minis. I'm so excited that I get to announce this line. Icons of the Realms, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. I see a theme happening through this, through the stream.
Definitely. Absolutely. And they are gorgeous for sure. I'm looking at my table right now and it's like I want to show you every little thing, but limited time.
I mean, you can show us as much as we have time for. I know that we're super excited to see these new minis. Any Dungeons & Dragons lover knows that if you have a dragon, you have to see that dragon for it to really feel real. Can you tell us a little bit about this new line of minis we'll be seeing?
I absolutely can. Do you want to start off with a different dragon, though, and kind of tap into the whole celebrating D&D, maybe?
Let's do it.
Okay. So everyone knows about the Sapphire Dragon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's coming in miniature form now. And I have with me this beauty. So this is, first of all, this is the box that it comes in.
Oh my goodness.
I know, right? It's stunning. So this is its packaging. I'm trying to get it so it's like yoink this way. There we go.
Oh, wow,
and then
that's beautiful.
It's got this gorgeous artwork on the side.
Oh, I also love that this is considered a mini.
It's a mini, air quotes. This is the back of it with its lore and everything.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, it's a big box.
Yeah,
So
it's gorgeous.
This is a big dragon. I could probably like fit partially into this one. So that's its packaging, but you got to see it in all its glory. So this is the beauty right here.
Oh, good. I'm so glad we get to see it out of the box too.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I have them in and out of box. So this is the Sapphire Dragon, and this fellow is already available for pre-order, and it's going to be coming out early August 2020. And it is truly a great, like the wingspan is crazy. And as you can see here, they're showing right now, when it has light coming in behind it, you have this beautiful translucency in the plastic, so it really takes on those different tones like they describe in its description and lore.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So this is one of those things. If you want to get your pre-order in, you go to shop.wizkids.com and you can place your pre-order like right now if you really want to get one of these beauties because it is fantastic. And the other cool thing that's starting to happen is we're starting to place these on clear plastic bases, which you can see right there. So that means when you go and you put this handsome fellow onto the table and terrify your players, the terrain that you're using will show right through as well. So it's one of those really neat, really cool featers. And the more light you have surrounding it, like it gets even more and more gorgeous. I highly recommend putting it in sunlight.
Ooh.
I'm not even kidding. It's fun. Hey, you guys are moving.
There they are.
Oh, hello. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, we were just talking to V about the Sapphire Dragon, but before we go any further, I wanted to give you guys a moment as our WizKids representatives to talk a little bit about the entire collection, the Icons of the Realms, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden lineup of minis. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's all yours, V.
Okay, cool. So basically, all of these lovely miniatures, there's going to be over 45 of these miniatures available when the time comes. We're looking at September-ish 2020. We're trying to coincide it with the book, actually, when it releases. So you have all these fantastic minis that are going to be coming out. And just, I'm looking at the table right now, and there's just so many cool things. Let's start. Do you want to look at the snow owl bear, since people are...
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Yes. Okay, so this is the little snow owl bear.
Oh my god!
Now, this is actually a very special deal because initially what was going to happen is we brought in some artists in the community to help us get these painted out. So this is one of the snow owl bears that got painted up by one of our artists so that we would have these all ready for the live event. Had it been, everyone getting together, we were going to do this really fun diorama setup for everyone to enjoy all the miniatures in the collection. But this is the snow owl bear that is part of it.
So cute.
And on the position, I love the way it's sitting. It's just so darn sweet. So
And its little mouth, like it's just making whatever noise an owlbear makes.
Right? I just want to feed it snacks.
Yes. This little guys, it's like I was wrapping it up. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to ship you. You're too darn cute.
Yeah.
You should just tuck them in your pocket.
Seriously. So it's one of those things where there are some other fantastic miniatures that are going along with this line. They're all coming pre-painted. They're coming in our booster packs, so you can get them either in a box itself or as a brick. And again, that's going to be something coming out mid-September-ish. And let's see, I can also show you a couple more of the other cool guys that go along with this. We have the Yeti.
Ooh, that's terrifying.
Wait, he is a monster and a half. Absolutely.
Wow.
So he's really, and again, this is another one of those miniatures that was painted by one of our artists, and we're actually going to have a webpage going up very soon to reveal who our artists were, because they worked really hard to get these all pulled together, and we very much appreciate all of their help with it for sure.
V, were you saying that the minis come pre-painted? Is that what they're going to look like?
They're going to look very similar to this because the artists were fantastic. They worked with color guides the entire time. They were showing them to me in process, making sure that everything was going along the way they needed to, and they all followed them beautifully. So they're going to look extremely similar to what you're seeing here. Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
But they are coming pre-painted.
That's awesome.
All right,
How
so
do you
we've
guys
seen... No, go ahead.
Oh, I was wondering, how do you guys decide which figures actually get made? There's so many monsters in all across D&D, so many adventures, so many figures that could possibly be made. How do you narrow that down?
Oh, that's definitely you guys.
Yeah.
You do that part. I did the painting part.
Yeah, this is O'Hagan, and I have Justin Duran with me here, my boss. So we lead the RPG side at WizKids. And to answer your question, one of the things that we do is we work with wizards to kind of get the theme, the story. We get an advanced read. Sometime before. I won't tell you how many months before, to kind of help set the kind of theme and story and arc. What it enables us to do is really kind of work with wizards back and forth in an iterative environment to start describing and setting up how we want to describe the actual set that we're building. And so what we do is we get the set sometime before, we work through and are able to iterate with wizards back and forth.
Now we've seen the snowy owlbear, we've seen the Yeti. Are there any more from the set that you want to show us before? I know we have another reveal that has to do with dragons, I believe.
Ooh. Yeah, I can show you. Let's do one more that I think is pretty cool. And let's pull up this fellow. This guy. It is.
Oh, he's also terrifying.
Isn't it? There are some really fantastic monsters that are getting included in this line, for sure. It's going to add some great variety to your gameplay, absolutely. And I'm so excited for people to get to see the whole entire line when the time comes. But
what is he called?
This is the what is it? Skeleton frost giant, or the
frost giant.
Oh. I was worried that was to scale.
Yeah, it's you know, to scale. There you go. Yeah, yeah. He's not small. He's
no, he's not. I was like, oh, hopefully that's just a little larger than. Oh no, it's a giant. Okay, cool.
No, he's definitely intimidating. For sure.
Yeah,
I'm glad you started us out with the cute one to lull us into complacency. Yeah.
Well, you know, DM, you kind of have to do that anyways.
Right.
True.
Okay, so I could show you the next dragon if you want.
And this is the first look, right, of this one?
Mm-hmm. And this is one that's coming along with this line, and this is the white.
Oh my god.
Let me lean back so you can actually get more of it in screen. So again, we have it on the clear base so that it shows up beautifully with the terrain. Now the base, because let me tell you, these guys they're hefty. So we had to make the bases a little bit bigger than what they really should be, but there's going to be a marker on the bottom of the clear plastic so you can see what they really should be marked that way. But yeah, this fellow is quite hefty. Let me get the mini back out so you can see for scale.
Oh, wow.
No. I like that. No, don't do that. Please, no. So
Those wings are
all of my
gorgeous.
Players dying to this dragon.
And this one is going to be available end of August. So this is the white. Yeah. Yes. And then we have some great,
beautiful.
Look at that. Isn't it awesome? Absolutely a stunner for sure. Really an impact
Looking at that art, I thought it was a painting.
Honestly, I can show you. I can even show you what it looks like in box, because even the box is beautiful.
Oh yeah, let's
see it. If you want to
it.
take a look here. So here it is in box.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the front. And then you get the side panels.
That's
with
so
the gorgeous
cool.
artwork. Isn't it amazing?
Is there more on the back of this one too?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And that's the
Love
other
it.
side. And then here is the back.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's gonna
with the
eat me.
artwork. Yeah, it might. It just might. But yeah, that's.
What do you think
so
is your
lovely.
favorite of all of these, V?
It's a different dragon. You ready for this one?
Yes.
There's more dragons.
This is my favorite, and it is massive.
Oh my god!
Wow, what is that?
Is that?
This is the Chardolin.
Wow.
This boy is hefty. Like, actually, it's quite heavy, but it is another one to coincide with the release.
What's the lore behind this guy?
Right? He is terrifying.
He's terrifying. Actually, that does sum it up quite well. It's a construct who basically inflicts terror, is really the best way to sum up this dragon. Yeah. So you have it with the mini in there.
Wow.
No.
Turning right back around and leaving is what I'm doing if I encounter that.
Nope.
It's a huge nope.
It's a huge nope. But I'm telling you, he's really quite sweet and cuddly. You can get him on the back of the wings.
Oh, so cuddly. I want to
He's
get a hug.
huggable.
Yeah.
He's huggable. You can hug him. You can give him a good hug. But that's how big this guy is. Like, it's got some absolute build and heft. And again, plastic, clear plastic, so you'll be able to see your terrain. But yeah, this is my favorite one.
I can just imagine the DM reveal on that one, pulling it out from under the table. Clunk.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Boom. And I mean, if you want an audio representation.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He's got some heft. So again,
we talked to Patrick and I'm sorry, what was it? John? Is that right? Justin, sorry about that. Yeah, we talked to Patrick and Justin about how you decide which figures to make. But tell us a little bit about the design process. How do you design them? What's the back and forth like? How long does it take? All of that.
Yeah, sure. Typically, everything's a little bit different, but I'll just go over kind of a common one. Like, I'll talk about the snowy owlbear, right? The one that we all like so much. What happens is Wizard gives us some art, and it's oftentimes, sometimes, it's final or close to final. We take it, we give it to our sculptors. Our sculptors go through rounds of iterations. When we're ready, we kind of just test size and whether or not it's actually cool enough to be on a table or cute enough to be on a table in this case. I have to say, these are not all cuddly, right? They may look cuddly, but they're not cuddly. The key thing, exactly, what we're going to show you. And then we kind of send it to Wizards for review, and there's an iteration back and forth for approval, and then we send it off. Typically, it takes about 8 months for us to produce something like what you just saw with the snowy owlbear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it is worth it.
Yes.
Well, and now you've shown something under a cloth on your table, and now we can't think about anything else. So tell us what's under that.
You can't point out the cloth and then not reveal the cloth.
Justin, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, we didn't want to one-up V, but we're going to one-up V.
Because this is it's so cool.
When Patrick started, about a year and a half ago?
About a year, yeah.
Patrick was my DM back when I lived in Seattle, and I said, Patrick, please give us some definitive dragons, the dragons. And as you see, what V has kind of shown you has been pretty awesome. But this guy just showed up at the house just the other day. This is fresh from our factory. So Patrick, hold that up. So this is the white dragon.
Oh my goodness.
It's the first in our line of the new Gargantuan series. It comes out in January, so that's why it's still not painted, but it'll come painted. It's a Gargantuan white. It'll be a named one. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you can try to guess at who it is.
It's pretty heavy.
It's very heavy, and it's the first in our line of new Gargantuan series dragons that will start with the white dragon.
Yeah, we'll probably go through the whole cycle, the color cycle with this, so people can expect the whole series of these.
So you're seeing pre-production first, but yeah, you can see a little mini on top. I don't want it to fall, but you can kind of see that's a medium-sized creature.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. So you're saying that we'll see all of the colors of dragon come out in that Gargantuan series as well?
Eventually, over time, yes. Yeah.
Cool.
The first thing you see is V held up that adult dragon, the white one. We have the first two coming out in next month, the sapphire and the white. December has the next one. I can tell you it's a black. And then from then on, we're going to have all the chromatics, all the metallics, as well as shadow and everything else you can imagine, including Dragon Riches. Yes.
And the Gargantuan series?
Collect these.
Yeah. The Gargantuan series, I can't tell you what's coming with Gargantuan, but next year there may be more than one. The white one for sure comes out in January. There will be additional ones that we will tell you about as time comes on.
Cool.
Yeah, slight tease there.
Yeah.
And for the people asking in the chat, the prices for your white and the sapphire, they're $69.99, and the Chardelin is $79.99. And again, check it out on our website. That is shop.wizkids.com if you want to get your pre-orders in for the Sapphire Dragon, especially.
And with all this new exciting reveals, are there any other releases coming up that you want to hype up? I mean, I'm like taking my credit card out right now and going to buy a Horde of Dragons, but I need to hear even more.
That's great. Justin's going to show you one more thing we have to show you, and I'll tell you one more. Mm-hmm. So we worked with Wizards of the Coast to actually create a line of two-dimensional minis that'll be called Idols of the Realm. This one comes out in December, right? This is the Abominable Yeti. It's just the same Yeti that we saw in three-dimensional form, now in two-dimensional form. So we're going to come out with an entire line of two-dimensional mini for D&D, and they're going to be called Idols of the Realm. The set for this release, which is the Icewind Dale set, comes out in December. Additionally, because Icewind Dale is so critical to the storyline, and I won't tell you anymore, but we're coming out with 4 houses that are papercraft, so that you can have a little town setting that allows you to actually play and engage, and it'll be the roofs open, they come off, so it'll be very engaging and, good thing, affordable.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
The reveals just kept coming during this segment. We thought we were done, and then boom, 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 more and more and more.
Right?
Thank you, guys. You brought us so much exciting stuff. Thank you so much for your time to be here with us and to tell us about these new products. We can't wait to get our hands on them. And now we are going to have to say goodbye to our friends from WizKids, but don't worry, because we will be coming up with a game with Deborah Ann Wall as the DM. That's also going to feature Sam Richardson, Janina Gavankar, Amy Acker, Matthew Lillard, Jay Ellis, and of course, like I said, the DM, Deborah Ann Wall. So don't forget, during that and in between on the break, you can visit dndlive2020.com and donate to Red Nose Day. Remember that Dungeons & Dragons is matching up to $125,000. Mika, this has been a whirlwind of new stuff. Are you excited?
I'm excited. I'm exhausted. I'm going broke all at the same time. This has been such an amazing day of D&D already. And like we said, that's the point of D&D Live Roll with Advantage. We're celebrating D&D and we're celebrating this awesome community and dragons. Did you see those dragons?
I sure did. I can't wait to see more. And you'll see more of us as well. We'll be back at the end of the day to talk and geek out even more. But right now, let's get right into that game. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
26% of our population lives in poverty. Of the 10 largest cities in the United States, we have the highest poverty rate. These are tremendous, tremendous challenges that we face here. We are committed to change that trajectory. Without the support of Red Nose Day, we wouldn't be here. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homeless and runaway young people wouldn't have a place to turn.
So she came to us probably a month or two ago. We have a limited number of beds for moms with children, and initially she didn't get one of those beds.
Before I came here, I was homeless, basically. I didn't have nowhere to go. I was going from shelter to shelter. I started off in West Philly in a women's shelter. So when I came downtown and they seen what I was going through, because they seen me coming in there, in and out, they told me about the Covenant House.
So at Covenant House, Pennsylvania, we serve runaway, homeless, and trafficked youth. But every one of these young people has a couple things in common. One is that they are filled with potential.
We believe pretty strongly that the way to help youth overcome a traumatic past is to develop relationships with them that are supportive and that are safe.
I had got my stuff stolen when I went to my first shelter, and it was hard for me because I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't know what to do. They just told me to leave. When I came here, it was like they gave me steps on what to do.
Like, we have to invest and support these young people. If we don't catch them now, if we don't serve them now, this is a generation of young people who are lost to the streets, and that's not okay. This year, with the support of Red Nose Day, Covenant House will serve 7,500 young people in 24 cities.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here at D&D Live. This game means so much to me. And when they asked if I would run a show, I was like, yes, I would love to do that. And I don't have a name for it. We're just calling it Deborah's Game because I just asked all of my friends to come and play with me. And they were so special and cool to come and join. So let's go meet everyone in the game. All right. So first up, we have Sam Richardson. He's an actor, a writer, a comedian, and you saw him as Richard Splett in the series Veep. Hi, Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam Richardson, and I am going to be playing Braithel the Bold, a totem barbarian who's lover of love, singer of song, breaker of stone, and has the heart of a wolf. Braithel the Bold.
Yay! Braithel the Bold. Fantastic. Up next, we have Janina Gavankar. You saw her in Star Wars Battlefront 2 and True Blood, where we got to know each other. And did you also know that she is a trained pianist? Janina.
So are you. I am playing Zapuni. She is a tiefling wizard. She is young and new to her powers, and she's on a journey to try to learn more about herself.
And we talked very young, we thought, right? She's just beginning to figure this out.
She's just figuring it out.
Oh.
She had her first little zap come out of her fingers when she was 10. No, she's only 14, so...
Cool. All right, so best known for starring as Winifred Burkle and Illyria on the supernatural drama series Angel, we have Amy Acker.
Hi! I am super excited to play my first game of Dungeons & Dragons with Deborah and all these awesome people. I am going to be playing a half-elf rogue charlatan, I believe. That's everything I know. I've got lots of fun things that Deborah gave me, and Aline.
Lovely. And then you all know this gentleman here on the bottom. You saw him in Scream, Serial Mom, and Scooby-Doo. Say hello to actor, director, and producer Matthew Lillard.
I'm super excited to be here. I'm Matthew Lillard. I'm playing Wrathfar, Iron Striker, Dwarven Cleric. He's gonna be here to preach the power of Moradin to all my new friends and be a pain in your butt, but will save us all from obvious death.
IGN Summer of Gaming is presented by The Last of Us Part 2, available June 19th, rated M for mature. By the Army National Guard, working in our communities throughout the COVID pandemic to deliver food, build hospitals, and more. Go to nationalguard.com/esports for more info. And by Fuser, who will be partying with us all summer long.
I've got some big news. Thank